Anyway, I appreciate you joining us. Nice to meet you. We'll have some questions from some of the media guys here, and
Sure.
I will. Who wants to go first? Everybody's being shy today. Let's see. Who wants to go first? Kellis, you want to go first, or Kevin?
I can
I
go first.
can. I'm struggling to find the raise hand feature though.
Okay, it's fine.
You want me just to ask?
Go ahead, Kellis. I'll
Uh,
mute myself.
all right. Well, hey, Bill, welcome to Manhattan.
Hi, Kellis. Thank you.
Tell us first off what drew you to this job? What made you want to come back and work with Jerome again?
Just my experience with him previously. My 5 years at Baylor with him were great. Obviously, won a national championship on the same staff, and year before that, the COVID year, we won 23 games in a row, which was more than anybody had ever done in the Big 12 in the modern era. And just the kind of man he is, and I knew his family, his wife Ray, and his kids, Island and Seven, and just thought it'd be a great place for me to work.
Do you know if you're going to be doing any recruiting with Kansas State, or will you be more in a on?
I'll do a little recruiting, but mostly I'll be on the floor as an assistant coach, doing a lot of skill work and player development and watching a lot of film with guys. That's kind of my forte. That's what I've kind of become known for. I spent 11 years in the NBA doing that kind of thing. So I'm excited to get started with Jerome, and the staff's been great to me. But I told Jerome, if you want me to go out occasionally, that's great. But I'm sure I won't be out a lot.
Okay, last one for me. Do you have any favorite memories of playing Kansas State from when you were an opponent against them?
Uh, Yeah, but I shouldn't bring it up because we were really, really good, and Kansas State wasn't very good, and we really stuck it to them, and we were really fortunate that at that time we were really a high level team and went on to win the national championship that year. I do have a couple memories a long, long time ago, Kellis. I was a scout for the Dallas Mavericks, and in '99, 2000 Dirk Nowitzki's rookie year. I was a player development coach for the Mavs, and then near the end of the season, um, the assistant GM Keith Grant said, "You want to go scout for me?" I said, "Sure," and he sent me to Kansas State, and I came to Manhattan to watch a game, and I can't even remember who they played. It was 25 years ago, but I just knew the tradition. Jack Hartman had been here, and Lon Kruger, and Tex Winter, and they'd had a storied tradition and some great players. I actually had met Rolando Blackman a couple times because he was with the Mavs when I was there. He was doing the radio. And then I've met Mitch Richmond a time or two when I worked for the Golden State Warriors. So I know they've had a proud tradition of basketball here, and I'm excited to be a part of it now.
All right, thanks so much.
Okay, thanks, Kellis. Who wants to go next? Ryan or
I can go
Kevin?
next.
Oh,
Can
okay.
you
Go
hear me?
ahead, Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin.
Bill, man, how you doing? Welcome to
Good.
Manhattan.
Thank you, Kevin.
You mentioned the NBA coaching experience. How much does that help you now transitioning to, I guess, skill development at the college level? And, what can you take from that time to help these young student athletes get to that level?
Well, nice to meet you, Kevin, and thank you for the welcome. I think it's been really, really helpful in my career, the time I spent in the NBA. When I was with the Milwaukee Bucks, Scott Skiles used to say all the time, he would call me Billy P. He'd say, Billy P, our players want two things. One, they all want to play more, and they all want to make more money, okay? Because they know they're not going to play very long. The lifespan of an NBA player was right around 3 years when I was with the Bucks. So we had a lot of guys come in and out. There aren't that many guys like, LeBron James and Kevin Durant that play 15, 20 years. So it helps me a lot in it telling guys, look, you want to play professionally afterwards. This is what a pro does. This is how a pro works. This is how he works on his game. This is how he takes it serious to hone his craft. We talk a lot about honing your craft, and that's not just working out in the gym. That's watching film. That's getting in better shape. That's spending more time in the weight room. That's eating right. So I lean on that a lot because I've been very blessed to work with some great players and people in the NBA.
I know this may be a case by case basis thing, but is there anything that is sort of a non-negotiable for for guys to have to develop to get to that level or be high level college players and high level NBA guys?
I would say two things. One, that they got to have a good work ethic. You have to get in the gym and really work. You know, coming in the gym and shooting jump shots and hanging out and talking to everybody is not work. And then the other thing is, with all the guys I was able to really help develop in the NBA and when I was at Baylor and at Colorado State a long time ago, the guys that made it were really teachable. Kevin. They were really moldable, and that they didn't have all the answers. Okay, they wanted to know, they wanted to grow and learn. And my time at Baylor 2 years ago, we had a rookie named Eve Missy, a young freshman, and man, he was so teachable. He was talented, but his ability to adapt and learn in a short period of time. And when you find guys like that that really want to learn and listen, it makes it much easier to help them become really great players.
No, you've only been in Manhattan for a few days, but have you gotten a sense that this current group of players has that sort of mentality and that
Well,
level of work ethic?
I have worked with four guys. There's just four guys coming back, and they've been great. David Costello and Moby and Taj Manning and Tyreek. They've all been good and really worked hard. And I think the biggest thing, another thing that I like to do a lot is, you know, at a high level, you got to be physical. So I make our workouts physical. They are very physical. They're hitting a lot and they're moving quick and it's short, quick bursts. And they've all been really receptive. And I've been pleased about that. And the other thing I like that they've asked questions. And you don't get better if you're not willing to ask questions and learn. So yes, I've been really happy about it.
Final one for me. I know that you used to be a college head coach. How much does that experience help you transitioning back to the bench with K-State?
Oh, it's huge, Kevin. I was talking to Jerome the other day, and we were laughing about something that happened at Baylor. And he said, "You know, Coach Pete, it's way different when you move 16 inches over." And I've sat in that seat. I've been a head coach. I've called the timeouts. I've run the practice. So I kind of know some of the pressures that the head coach endures and has. I mean, I understood it at Baylor with Scott Drew, and I understand it with Jerome Tang. And I'm excited to be here to help him and you know, maybe take some things off his plate at times because I know he's got a lot to do and he's got to wear a lot of hats. You know, he's got to talk to the administration, he's got to talk to boosters, we got NIL, he's got to raise money, he's got to recruit. Well, if I can take a couple things off his hat and he can say, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. Guy's taking care of that. Then that's just going to make his job better. So I'm excited about it.
Thanks, Bill.
Hmm.
Thanks, Kevin. Ryan, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Bill, welcome. It's good to see you. Couple questions. You mentioned the returning players. What can you say about guys like that in today's day and age of college basketball that want to come back and stay and develop in a program?
Yeah. Great question, Ryan. Nice to meet you, and thank you for the welcome. You know, I just visited with the guys. Today was our last workout, and they have a dead week, and then they have finals. And I said, you know, you guys, you're kind of the standard bearers. We're going to have a bunch of new guys coming in. So if we have four guys coming back, that means we got nine new guys coming in. And that's kind of the way college basketball is. And you guys are going to set the standard. I mean, you guys have worked with me for 2 weeks now and you know what we demand and what we expect. So when those guys come in the locker room on really good teams, the players tell the other players, this is how it's going to be here. Okay, this is the bar we're going to raise. This is what they expect in workouts when they're down there. And I really harped on that a lot. I got feedback from them, and that's really important because I know with my time in the NBA, the only time we were really good is when the players led the locker room when they said, hey, this is what we got to do. And I was on a lot of teams in Milwaukee where I know they would go back in the locker room and gripe and complain about what Scott Skiles was doing or what this was happening on the floor. They didn't like that. But when we had a couple older guys in there that said, hey, shut up. This is how we do things here with Milwaukee. This is the standard we have. Then it was way, way better. And we had a much better chance for success. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I think our guys that are coming back are all really good about that. And they're going to take that role on. They're going to try and absorb it and really be more active in doing that.
And then some of the incoming transfers, obviously you haven't been able to work with them yet, but what are just maybe some early impressions on some of those guys?
I met Nate Johnson on his visit in Abdi. Nate Johnson impressed me because of the physicality of his body. Loved how he looked, and I'm really big on little things. Ryan, he shook my hand like a man, like he was going to rip my hand off. And being in the NBA, we used to talk about that a lot. I'm not your brother, I'm not your peer, I'm not your homeboy. I'm the boss. And he was very impressive. And then meeting Abdi, the one thing I really liked about that was he just kept telling me he watched one of our workouts, and his mom or his uncle told me, Coach, he's a gym rat. I love guys that love to be in the gym because if they love to be in the gym, that means you can mold them and develop them. But if you're always begging them to come in the gym and get extra shots up or get an extra lift in, it means you're always tugging on people and trying to get them to do things. Whereas if they're willing and they're there, the very best players we ever had that made it in the pros at Baylor were guys that were in the gym all the time. And I think the same will be here at Kansas State.
And then I know Tang, when he first took this job, mentioned when he was at Baylor just how much he loved coming to Manhattan, the crowd, the atmosphere. What do you remember most from your time at Baylor from Bramwich Coliseum?
The crowd was awesome. It was awesome. A couple times we played here, and I remember the students didn't sit down. I told my wife, man, that place has got some juice. I mean, I love playing when there's, full arenas and it's packed and people are into the game. And that's what I'm expecting to come into here. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the guys we're bringing in. And, we won a national championship at Baylor, but there were times we didn't have great crowds. We didn't draw like that. But I remember my time coming here. The crowds were tough and they were good and they were juiced and they were pumped. I remember coming out like an hour before the game and there's, I don't know, 2,000 students standing and they're chanting and saying things at our guys. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that environment for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Tim, do you have some questions?
I do. Hi, Bill. My name is Tim Everson.
Hi, Tim.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is you've been around basketball a long time. You've been able to see a lot of the shifts and changes. What's kind of your impression on the last 3 to 4 years of the basketball landscape with the NIL coming in and just the transfer portal kind of running amok? What's your feel on that?
Well, Tim, thank you for the welcome and excited to be here. The changes have been, volcanic, and that they came at the same time. They had the portal the same time they added NIL. So you got two things that shift back and forth with guys because guys can leave whenever they want. College basketball is the only sport in the world where at the end of the season, everybody's a free agent. And that happens in no other pro league, at all. And the guys are getting paid now. So I told our guys the last couple of years, you guys are pros and you have to learn to respond like pros. And I know it's great that you're getting paid. And I think that's super. But if you don't continue to produce, you don't do certain things, you're not going to keep getting paid. And I think now that you guys are getting money and you're a pro, we need to hone your craft and we got to attack it more like you're a pro. I know you still need to go to school and get your grades, but you got to learn how to be a pro, how to take care of your body, how to get in the gym and get extra work in, how to watch film the right way, how to eat the right way so that you can have a longer career. Because if your body breaks down, you're not going to be any good. And you got to take care of your body and you got to train the right way. So that's probably the biggest take. And that guys are making money and they're making it now instead of waiting until when they're professionals. But if they learn to do it the right way, then after they're done with college, they can continue to make money, whether they're in the NBA or overseas.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Go ahead, Mitch. Sorry, I got you in. Saw you raise your hand. So.
Mitch, you're on mute.
Hey, Tim or Mitch, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. There we go.
There we go.
Coach, welcome to the Cats. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mitch.
I'm sure you have a lot of amazing stories. I'm wondering, do you have a favorite story or a go-to story, especially from maybe your time in the NBA, that you may use today as a motivator or a story to further develop a guy?
Yes, sure, 100%, Mitch. I was with the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think it was my second year there. and we drafted two guys in the first round and second round. The first round guy was a guy named Joe Alexander. He played at West Virginia for Bob Huggins or for John Beeline. And the second guy was a guy named Luke Balamute that played at UCLA. And I was a player development guy for Scott Skiles. Joe Alexander was talented. We took him with the 8th pick, and but he would not listen. He had his own ball handling routine, his own shooting routine, and it was really hard to get him to do stuff that we wanted him to do. Whereas Luke Balamute, he was a sponge. He would listen, do whatever. We had played about 2 weeks of pickup ball in September, and we had a meeting, and Scott Skiles went around the room and he said, "Who y'all like?" And I said, "I really like Luke Balamute," and he undressed me in the meeting. He said, "Well, you're stupid. You got no clue about basketball because there's only 13 guys that are active, and he won't be active because he isn't any good." And I kind of nodded my head and said, "Okay." And I said, "I'll show you," because I'd been around Luke long enough to know he wanted to learn and grow, and he had great legs and feet, and he could be a tremendous defender. He just had to have the right mindset. And so I went to Luke about a week later and said, "We were in this meeting, Luke, and Coach Kyle says he doesn't think you're going to play. But I think I'm in the meeting and I'm giving you all the answers to the test before you take the test." He loves guys that can defend. So we had another 2 weeks before training camp started, and we had two All-Stars on our team, former. We had Michael Redd, who'd been an All-Star with the Bucks, and we just traded for Richard Jefferson, who'd been an All-Star for the Nets. So he said, "Look, this is what I want you to do. Every day in pickup, when the coaches are watching, and I'm over there refereeing and calling out sets to run for the games, I want you to guard Richard or Michael Redd every day." So he started doing it every day. And about, I don't know, 8 days in, Richard Jefferson was tired of it, and he took Luke and threw him on the ground, pushed him, and said, "Get away from me. Leave me alone. All right, it's pickup. What are you doing?" And Luke jumped right up and got in his face and just got after him. Well, he started to proceed to develop a role as a defensive stopper. He came off the bench early. 20 games in, he was starting for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he could guard 1 through 5. And he actually guarded Tim Duncan in a game, and we won the game against the Spurs. And just that his willingness to learn and figure out a role for him. When guys learn to be stars in their role or be elite at their role, then you got something special. And that's a story I use all the time, and I've used it with guys at Baylor and different places I've been, because everybody doesn't get to shoot all the time. Everybody get to dribble. But if you can find a role and be a star in your role, well, you can be a great screen setter, you can be the best rebounder or the best defender or the best assist guy, you got a shot to have a great team when you get a couple guys that are willing to do that.
Appreciate you sharing that. Thank you, Coach.
Sure. Thanks, Mitch.
Andrew, do you have anything? I think you're the only one who hadn't talked, so I was going to give you an opportunity.
I do. Thank you. Hey, Bill, I'm Andrew Lind. I'm with local TV in Topeka. Welcome to K-State.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, kind of building off Mitch's question. I know you've been in this game for a long time, but I just wondered what that adjustment period is like coming to a new program, a new team. Obviously, I'm sure your style and thought process aligns with Jerome. Otherwise, this wouldn't have been a good fit. But how do you incorporate kind of, your forte, your style without stepping on Jerome's, feet in any way?
Good question, Andrew. Well, one thing that's been helpful, I was with Jerome 5 years, so he knows me like the back of his hand, and I know him really well too. And when I was at Baylor, I spent a lot of hours with Jerome. I thought he was going to be a really good head coach, and he was associate head coach with Baylor. And after probably the second or third year, he would come in my office every morning and drink his coffee and put his feet up on my couch, and we would just talk hoops and talk. And I would tell him, "You're going to be a great head coach one day." And I would say, "I think you need to look at this, or you need to do that, or whatever." And he was in charge of our defense. And we got times where we went back and forth and disagreed. And we learned to agree to disagree sometimes. And so there were no feelings about it. And that's what I love more than anything. And then he came to K-State and obviously building this program and had great success the first year. So I know what he's about and I know what he believes in. Coming in a new situation, I'm very thankful that I do know a couple of the guys that are assistants here. pretty well. And Austin Carpenter was at Baylor, and I know Marco Bourne because he was worked our camps a lot at Baylor. So I don't come in not knowing anybody at all. The staff's been great to me, and I'm very thankful to have the position. But you're right. I said the first meeting, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I do have a certain style. And if I offend anybody, please come and say something to me. This is a group. This is a team thing. And the more the coaches are together as a staff and the more the players are together and in sync, then the better K-State basketball is going to be. And I'm excited about that.
And then finally, you had mentioned just like the four guys being around and you had worked with each one of them. How important do you think that is, like, and how beneficial having that small group? So, here in May, you can already
Yeah.
get to know these four guys and continue to build that relationship. So when November or even September, October rolls around, you feel like you have kind of maybe an inside edge with some of these guys that you wouldn't have had if you would have came in September.
Yes, 100%, Andrew. Agree. Having this time with them a couple weeks and getting individual time with them and working as a group. And then afterwards, I love to sit around and talk to them. One of the things I do a lot, I go in the locker room after workouts and I just sit there and talk. And I ask questions of them and they ask questions of me. And, I'm not afraid for them to say, I just met with the three of the guys that were here today working. And I said, give me one feedback good and one negative of the workouts since I've been here. And they gave me some good and they gave me a negative. And the negative I liked. I said, I like that David Costello said it. And Moby agreed with him. And I said, I like that. And then I kind of explained why I did that. And one of them smiled and said, I can see why you do that. And I said, I'm going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing that. So, yeah, I think that's a real positive. And that, when our new guys come in, they're going to be able to share with the new players on how Jerome wants things done here at Kansas State. And I'm excited about that opportunity. And it's way different than coming in September, 100%, to be able to get to know the guys and be around them for even a short period of time.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Andrew.